This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's limited series, True Ghost Stories. It is getting closer to Halloween, if it isn't yet, by the time this broadcasts. We're going to keep it spooky, and tonight we have Greg Fakidik. Is that right? I got it.
That's pretty close, yeah.
Awesome. Lecturer, internet radio co-host, paranormal investigator studying and investigating a paranormal for over 20 years. Lead investigator of the Tri-C Ghost Hunters based in Ohio, and best yet, retired City Twinsburg Police Department in 2011, serving for 29 years. And I'm sure you have experienced, now that we're going to get into that. So welcome, Greg. Welcome. So, let's go back in time. And when and what was your first experience?
My first experience, unlike other people who grew up in haunted houses and had all these kind of experiences, mine did not occur until 1998. Gosh, I think I was 40 years old at the time. I was visiting my sister for the Christmas holidays and staying in her guest bedroom, and they always claimed that their house was haunted. So, I mean, and it didn't bother me because I've been into it for a long time. And anyways, that night, I was sleeping and I was woken up by these bags being moved around the room. In the corner of the room, since it was Christmas, there were a whole bunch of presents, a whole bunch of bags just all piled up over there. And it sounded like somebody rummaging through the presents, like they were looking for their presents. So, I mean, I immediately flipped on the light, expecting to see something or maybe a cat or an animal there, but there was nothing there. And then come to find out that my aunt, who had stayed in that same room a couple months earlier, they had the same experience. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It wasn't Christmas night by chance, was it?
No, it was probably like several days before Christmas.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, Santa Claus came early.
Right. Delivering his presents.
Yeah. Oh, man. Now, did you experience, I mean, I got a lot of friends that are retired police officers, Leos, and they tell me stories all the time, true stories.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any that you would like to share without giving away evidence?
Unfortunately, I didn't really have a lot of experiences. I mean, there were some weird things that happened. There was one night I had a dream that I found a broken window at one of our local schools, and when I looked in, there was a gun pointing at me. And then I woke up, and that was the end of the dream. Well, that night I was working the midnight shift and walking around that school, and guess what I find? I find a broken window. Somebody had broken in. Needless to say, I did not look into the window. I just called for backup, but that was kind of freaky at the time. And then the only other thing was we got a call there was a horn blaring in an apartment complex parking lot. And when we went there, we found the owner, and she goes, "Oh, that was my husband's car, and we just buried him today."
Oh.
So other than that, no. And I used to go into old abandoned houses. We had this one old abandoned house where for some reason the people just up and left. They left everything. They left all their furniture. They left all their dishes, clothes, even weapons. They just left in the house and they just moved.
Wow.
So I would go up there all the time and just walk around. And it was just like, there's got to be something. And I wonder why they just moved. Nobody had an answer. It was just really strange because it was a nice house. And it's torn down now, but it's one of those mysteries. Why did they leave everything?
Yeah.
So,
That's
but other than that, no, I haven't had any experiences.
Yeah. So being the leader of how long? Let's see. Yeah, how long have now Tri C? I keep saying Tri City.
I know everybody does.
Tri C ghost hunters. What part of Ohio is that?
The whole state.
Oh,
We call ourselves Tri-C because we have teams in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati.
okay.
We have about 42 members in all teams combined, and we cover the whole state.
Awesome. So tell me about the organization and some of your cases. Let's stick to the spooky cases.
Oh,
Really,
okay, yeah.
I want to give some goosebumps.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're going to cause goosebumps, but they did to me at the time.
Yeah.
We formed in 2013. My wife and I were actually on another paranormal team prior to that from 2005 to 2012. And we left because we wanted to form our own team. We had some ideas of what we wanted to do. So I think when we started, we probably had 8 members on the team. And we all met and we came up with, a name for the team. Everybody voted for Tri-C because at that time, we had teams in Cleveland, Columbus, and Canton.
Yeah.
And we formed not to prove the existence of an afterlife. We did not form to get famous or get on TV or anything like that. We did not form to post all the evidence and say, "Oh, look at all this cool stuff we got," because evidence is so subjective. And
Yep.
most of the time, a lot of the evidence that I see out there is nothing paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically formed to help people, living in homes or working at businesses who had stuff going on that they could not explain.
Yeah.
Basically, we were trying to make them feel at ease, more comfortable. And that's why we formed. And we've done a lot of private homes. And in fact, one of the more haunted um, locations that I have investigated was a private home. Um, I don't know how these people could live in this house. When you would walk in, the atmosphere was so thick, your hair would just start standing up. And I said to my wife, I'm like, it's almost like I can't even stay here. I don't see how they're living there. And we had a lot of stuff going on, like down in the basement. They claimed that they would see a shadow figure, or they would hear voices. So my wife and myself and the homeowner, we were down in the basement, and my wife's sitting in one area, and she says, if there's anybody here, can you knock something over? And immediately something, falls over in the back of the basement. Uh, couldn't find what it was. And up in the upstairs, it was just so freaky. I just wanted to run out of the home screaming. We had a couple other minor experiences, but it was the evidence that we captured afterwards that was amazing. Now, some of the claims were that they would hear heavy footsteps coming from up on the second floor. A rocking chair in their living room would rock on its own. They would see the shadow figures, doors would open and close, they would hear voices. That they were terrified, and that's why they contacted us. Well, when we went through the evidence, we got some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, we did capture the heavy footsteps walking up on the second floor. I mean, you could hear thud, 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 just walking. But the best piece of evidence that I've ever captured was an EVP. We had a couple of investigators that were up in the little girl's room. They were sitting on the floor. They got an audio recorder going. We got a video camera in there. And as they're sitting there, they hear something fall behind them. So, they're trying to figure out what it was, or like, can you do that again? And then they get up and they're go over there looking, trying to figure out what fell. And on the audio, while they're standing up talking, you hear this sounds like an old man, clear as day, say, "How's it going?" They did not hear it at the time. And in fact, when I first was reviewing the video, I actually missed it. So Jake, who had his audio recorder, he says, "Hey, go back and check your video at this time. I captured something. I don't know what it is." So I went back and I was like, "Holy crap, clear as." But now, everybody gets EVPs, right? But
Yeah.
it was like you and me talking right now. I mean, it wasn't a soft whisper. It wasn't something that everybody's gonna, think that it says something different. It was clear as day. "Hey, how's it going?" So we brought this audio clip to the clients, the homeowners, and we played it for them. And she says, "My grandfather used to always say, 'How's it going?'"
Hmm.
We're like, "Oh, cool. Maybe we can have somebody else in the family listen to it." So she had her mother and her uncle listen to the voice, and
Yeah.
they both identified the voice as their deceased father.
Wow.
Now, with that knowledge, we went back to the house and we were like, "Hey, they know you're here, but you're scaring them. Please, stop." That
Yeah.
happened back in 2007. They still live there and they haven't had a problem since.
Yeah. That and I've pretty much most of all the cases I've had where it's a client, client based is once you identify the issue, everything kind of stops. It's like the spirit
Yeah,
wants to know that everybody knows that they're there, and then
right.
they keep the peace.
It's like he's just trying to say, "Hey, I'm here watching you guys," and now they know, so he's at ease now too, knowing that they know he's around, and
Yeah.
and he's doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask you too if you don't, no problem. If you're willing to share evidence on the show too, we could do a screen share and stuff if you have either any audio or video of anything to share.
I actually have that one.
You do have that one? Let me give you administration co-host rights, and that way okay, there we go. Co-host, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little share box. If you click that, it'll open up a window and take you to um, select share screen, and then on the top you select a window, and then you
Okay.
select whichever window you do have open that it's on. So,
Okay. So let me just share. What is it? Share screen or share video?
um, let's see, share screen,
All right.
and then select a window if that particular file is
Okay.
it's in its own window.
Okay. And then I just pick out. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Oh, that was back there. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, when I was doing EVPs, I'd have the rest of the investigators do their thing and stuff or capture video, and I'd have my digital recorder with my headphones on. That way, I can monitor. They may not hear anything, but I can hear anything and everything that's happening that the studio microphones are picking up. Um,
Okay, so I've got it here. So let me see. Can you see that?
Nothing yet.
Okay, let me see. It's still doing its thing. All right, hold on here. All right, can you see that this now?
Nothing came up on the screen yet.
Let me see.
Let's see.
There it is. Can you see where it says media player?
Um, yeah, next
Share.
one, and then you hit share. Ah, there we go. Cool.
All right.
Boom. Aha. There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to play it. You can see it was a time was 11:08 p.m., but right at the 38, 11:08:38 p.m. Hopefully you can hear the how's it going. All right, so let me just start this.
It was definitely in that corner.
It was right after you. I'm wondering if there's anything we.
Were you able to hear it?
I wasn't able to hear. I'm not getting any audio from it.
Okay, I've got the audio turned up all. Try it again.
It was definitely in that corner.
It
was right after you.
You're not getting any audio?
Yeah, let me check to see if I've got no. I'm seeing if I'm not getting any audio for some reason.
Okay, maybe it was something I did with the sharing. Let me see.
Because usually, normally it'll do the audio too. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with any settings on the audio side because normally it gets shared in as one signal, audio and
Okay.
video. So.
Okay. So that's it though, and I don't know why it's not doing audio.
Yeah, gonna have
I can hear it here through my speaker, but
okay.
if you're not,
I don't know. Maybe maybe the output. If you're hearing it on your end through the output, maybe that's why. Maybe you gotta. Are you using a Mac or a Windows?
Windows.
You might have to select audio. Do something with your audio setting.
Yeah, I'm going there. Yeah, let's go right here. Yeah, the only choice I have looks like just the speaker on the computer. So,
wow.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to check with our IT guys and see what
Okay.
Weird setting that we can troubleshoot for later use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here too. I've got
If you
it
got
on
some
audio.
photos,
Let me just see. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that one. And what is really odd about the audio? Let me see if I can get you back here. Let me try this again. Let me try to share the audio. All right. Let me know if you can hear this.
all right.
So I just played it. You didn't hear anything?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Wonder what is going on, man. Yeah, I've never experienced this before. Maybe the spirits don't want us to share audio. They don't got a problem with pictures.
But yeah, that's and what's weird about that is where we had the video camera set up. It is really clear in the on that audio.
Yeah.
The audio recorder that the investigator was holding, the voice also captured it. Both of them captured it, but it sounds distant and far off. So my first thought was it's got to be them.
Yeah.
But there's no way it was them because even on the video, they don't even react to it, and they're just continually talking amongst themselves.
Yeah.
So, but no, they still live in the home, and they're happy now.
What other cases have, as far as really stood out as, now you said most of your cases are client based and I've done the same thing is, I
Right,
wouldn't
right.
go, there's only one place I went to it was a mansion, an abandoned mansion, and we were invited by, the property caretakers, to kind of go in and do an investigation. But most of my clients have all been clients to oh my God, we got we got a demon or this or that. And obviously, no, it was, a
Right.
loved one, deceased ancestor, grandmother, grandfather, somebody. And
Hmm.
once we determine that, everything goes away.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And most of the homes we do, we don't capture anything. Um, now, I lived in a haunted house with my wife, and we had some crazy stuff going on there. But it didn't happen all the time. If we had 8 things happen a year, and some of these things were crazy, like rocking chair rocking in our bedroom while we were sleeping, or the covers being pulled off the bed, or somebody walking around the bed, or heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. But it didn't happen all the time. And most of the homes that we do, um, it just seems like it's more high EMF, the fear cages where, it's really affecting people. And we're like, hey, get rid of that fan, move that clock radio, and it'll take care of everything.
yeah.
But most of my experiences are at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield,
Mhm.
Ohio. So that's in fact, was just there last night and had an experience. Uh,
Wow.
it's I mean it's a crazy place. And
Yeah.
I've had experiences other places. I remember we investigated this. It was a place called Signal Tree, and it is Native American land. And a signal tree is, in this case, I think it was a big oak tree, but it didn't have one trunk. It's got 3 trunks. It looks like a trident.
Yeah.
And the Native Americans, when it was a sapling, they would manipulate it and use it as a road marker.
Huh.
And we were out there, and at that time, this other group that they would do what they called the seance. Everybody, hold hands in a circle, and I would never do that. I used to always videotape and audio record and do EMFs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when my wife was doing it, excuse me, she got an image of a Native American warrior,
Hmm.
and she's like, if you're haunting this place, she didn't say it out loud. She just said it to him or whatever it was, saying, if you're haunting this place, can you shove one of us? I went flying.
Whoa.
I mean, something really forcefully pushed me, from behind. And that was, it was amazing. It didn't scare me. I was just like, wow, something just pushed me. And
Yeah.
not knowing that she had asked for one of us to be pushed.
Huh. And it had to be
And I
you.
always told her, I'm like, you probably just did it with your mind, psychokinetic energy. And she's like, no, if that was the case, you'd be being pushed all the time. So,
Uh,
and then
mm,
another crazy experience was at a place called the Rhodes Hotel in
mm,
Atlanta, Indiana. Uh, there was something about that place where it's almost, I love the place. I love the location. And my wife were upstairs investigating. And at the time, you could actually spend the night there. I'm not sure if you can now. And they had like 8 bedrooms. But there
mhm.
was one bedroom down at the end of the hall where we heard noises coming from. And we had a video camera set up there. And I said, I'll go down and check it. And at the time, I'm not sure what it's called now, but it's called the Madame's room because at one time it was a brothel.
Yeah.
And I go into the bedroom, I stop, listen, there's nothing. I come out, and all of a sudden, I get this burning pain sensation across my neck. So I let out a little scream and, grab my neck. My wife comes running, and she's like, "What happened?" And I'm just like, I couldn't talk.
Hmm.
I'm just like, it was the weirdest thing. I mean, it hurt.
Yeah.
It was burning. It almost felt like, well, I've never had my throat slashed, but that's what it seemed like it was.
Wow.
Um, and and after a short while, it went away. Now there were a lot of stabbings and assaults there and everything. But the next time we went there, she wanted to spend the night in that room. And I'm like, oh yeah, great. You know, the room that I got my throat slashed. So the
man.
first night, it happened again, not on my throat, but it felt like I had a burning sensation in my side, almost like somebody was trying to stab me.
Mhm.
And I woke up, you know, screamed a little, woke her up, and I'm like, she's at it again. Um, the third night, the second night, I was kind of like terrified, and I'm like, please don't hurt me anymore. I'm not here to hurt you, and everything was fine the next night.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of physical contact during those investigations.
Yeah, it's like you were picking up the a repeat of what the spirits died from. You know, a slap, maybe
That's what
poking,
I'm.
stabbing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you were
That's
feeling their pain at the time of their death.
mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I thought at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but
Um,
it was crazy.
Now you investigated to the Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Kentucky, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now
Yep.
that that
It's a cool
how was
place.
that?
It's a very cool place.
Uh,
Um, I haven't had any experiences there. I mean, minor experiences, but I'm real skeptical on everything, and it's got to be really crazy for
yeah,
me to be like, oh yeah, you know. But we did. We had a video camera set up on a toy ball, a toy rubber ball, and we captured on video where the ball is like moving in a slow figure eight pattern.
yeah,
Uh, and there was no wind. We probably had a video of it like 8 hours, and it only did it one time, which was pretty cool. But other than that, and me, I like the personal experiences. People, they got REM pods going off or EMF meters going off or something like that. And to
mhm,
me, that's not definitive proof that it's ghost or paranormal. But when you see a shadow figure or an apparition, or you're being touched, or you know, uh, throat slashed, or you're smelling things, that's what I you know hope to experience. And for me, I could care less if I captured it on audio or video. In fact, right now, when we do a lot of our investigations, not private homes, those are completely different. I may just have an audio recorder and that's it.
yeah, yeah. Can't have too many toys, all these electronics and stuff like that. It just you go in with your own senses. The body,
Exactly.
our own physical body is the tool. That is the machine. That is the bioelectronic feedback system that helps us as investigators to be able to. Because I figure too, and let me know if you agree with this. The longer and the more often you do it, you start to develop these extrasensory abilities and be able to pick up some of this, the communication, whether it's
Hmm.
by, all the clairsentience and stuff like that. Um, so the longer and more often you do it, you start to build on those
Yeah,
skills.
I believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Oof.
it, and I've been investigating since 91, and and reading and researching, and most of the time, like I said, it's you sit in a location for hours and hours, and nothing happens. Um,
Yeah, it can get
and
boring. Yeah,
it can
people.
get really boring, and sometimes you get burned out. And um, I'm not saying I'm burned out yet, but like I said, my favorite place is the Ohio State Reformatory. That's where I work, and that's where I've had most of my experiences. Um,
Yeah.
and and some of those are pretty intense, uh, to say the least. In fact, like I said, I've been investigating for 91. I've never seen a shadow figure or an apparition until that was 2019. I've seen four of them, and three of them have been at the Ohio State Reformatory. Now, the other one was kind of cool. We manage an old elementary school. up in the Cleveland, Ohio area, where we do private hunts and events out of there.
Hmm.
And the owner asked us to investigate it. There was no history, no paranormal history in the building. So we were kind of like, okay, you know, we'll go in and we'll see what we can find. So a couple of us went in skeptical, and one guy captured and heard like piano music playing, uh, and he didn't know it at the time, but he was actually in the music room when he captured that.
Yeah.
But the craziest thing was the next day. Now, my wife wasn't able to make that investigation, so her and I met the owner the next day. We're there during the day, and we're giving my wife a tour of the building. And we're back in this one classroom way down at the end of the hall. And I come out and I look down the hall. I was like, there's somebody standing down there. It's just a dark figure just standing. And there again, it's like, is that my eyes playing tricks on me? Um, and and that's what I always assumed, that it's my eyes playing tricks on me. And so they come out and they both are like, who's that down there? I was like, you guys see it too? And it was a shadow figure. The building's locked up. There's only one maintenance guy that actually works in the building and has keys. And so the owner contacted him and said, Anthony, are you in the building? And he's like, no. So that was my second time and my wife's first time. And that place is pretty cool. We've had, experiences there.
Yeah.
People have actually captured what they believe to be shadow figures on video there. So,
Wow. Yeah, it all depends on the place, depends on the history, depends on the energy, depends on what. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of details involved, and a lot of and also our energy. As an investigator, you got to be careful
mhm,
as far as with our investigators and stuff, and make sure that they're okay.
mhm.
So,
Right. Um, well, we had another location that we also ran events out of too. It was an old abandoned hospital.
mm,
Now, this place was crazy. Uh, in fact, we've had people there that have said that that is the most active and haunted location they've ever been to. And these are groups that have YouTube channels and been all over. And we closed the building down back in 2018 because it's been abandoned so long, and then it just started deteriorating inside. And what 5 years later, every time I see them, they're like, that's what they talk about all the time. It's like that place was so active. But we've had physical contact there too.
huh.
Um, I mean, there was this one time we were in the old cafeteria kitchen area, and I swore there was somebody in there because a lot of big stuff was being thrown around, like poltergeist stuff.
Yeah.
You hear a bang and something be thrown across the floor. And I'm like, there's got to be somebody in here. Now, the kitchen area, it was just all metal studs. All of the drywall was taken down. And so, I mean, you can see, I mean, we're looking up in the ceiling. We're looking everywhere to try to find somebody. And I go into this one area. Like I said, there's no walls, but you can tell it was like a little room or closet or something. I start walking in there, and it felt like a hand just went up on my face and pushed me out. My glasses went flying off my face, and
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, Jesus!" It's like, wow. And we've had the apparitions of little children, people actually chasing them,
Mm,
little children apparitions there. Um, there was this one time. It's like every time I would go past this one area, this past the old surgical area, felt like something would always slap my face. I
yeah.
would go by and whack. It's like, well, come on, guys. Or there would be times where I'd be walking and something would grab my hand.
Yeah.
Something would just grab my hand like it wanted to walk with me. I was like, whoa, geez, let me know first.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a signal.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the personal experiences, like the sight, the touch, and the sound. I love that stuff. In fact, when I give my tours at the reformatory, that's all my tours are about. is sight, sound, feeling, hearing, smelling. I never talked about the equipment because, like I said, there's no proof because that EMF device went off is that it's paranormal. But seeing somebody standing in the cell that you've gone by hundreds of times before and nobody's ever been there, and now you go by a cell and you got a tour behind you and you look and it's like there's somebody standing there, and there again you're like, did I just see somebody? But you know that you did when the guest behind you starts crying because she saw it and it scared her.
Yeah.
So you get that's what I like. It's, in fact, the craziest thing that I've ever happened there happened at the end of May. I mean, this is by far the craziest things that has ever happened to me. Our guests have a break room, and just outside of that break room is what you would call my break room. It's part of the kitchen area that they have at the reformatory. I've got a big giant TV where I can monitor all the security cameras. And they've got two big giant commercial refrigerator freezers in there. The one's been there forever and it's just loaded with food and stuff like that. The other one is a newer one. It's only been there a couple years. It really doesn't have anything in it. And the one night I was working there by myself. Usually I have a volunteer to assist me, but that night there was nobody there. So I'm sitting there and all the guests are out there wandering around the building. I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I start hearing this noise and I look, and this freezer refrigerator door, big, heavy steel door that, it even takes force, a little bit of effort to open it because of the suction. It starts opening and slamming, just opening and slamming, opening and slamming. It did it like 8 times, just bang, 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 bang. I was like, holy shit, what the hell was that? And when the guests came back in, I told them what happened, and they were like, well, somebody was really trying to get your attention. And I'm like, yeah, that what was weird. That's never happened before. And I'm in there all the time. And then a couple of weeks later, now I'm still thinking about it. It's like, how did that happen? Did that really happen? And then a couple of weeks later, I look at the date and I'm like, that was my parents' anniversary.
Ooh.
The date that this happened, and they're both deceased. Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder if maybe they were trying to, contact me, because it was their anniversary, hoping that I would figure it out. But now I have to wait till next May to see if it happens again.
Yeah, see if it repeats.
And if it happens again, I can then say, hey, Mom and Dad, okay, it's you.
Yeah. Wow. Now, before we continue, because it's getting juicy. It is getting juicy. Before we continue, let me put up one of our sponsors for this Halloween that we are partnering up with. And just a quick commercial, about 1 minute and 15 seconds, and we will be right.
Greetings, doll lovers and horror fans. I am Master Dully, the Doll Master, inviting you to my house of dolls, where the dolls come alive and the horror begins.
Just to keep it spooky. That was spooky.
Yeah, that was cool.
Go check out the House of Dolls horror show here in Orlando, is actually, and but they're on Facebook and they got Facebook and they got a YouTube channel. So, anywho, let's continue. So, have you been to Penn State?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
Well, we've been to a lot of places, but in time. Um, but obviously, there's been a lot of places that we haven't been to. But talking about the dolls, that reminds me of another location where we had some really crazy stuff going on. It wasn't a private residence or a business; it was just one of these locations where you can go investigate, like the Ohio State Reformatory and Waverly Hills. And there was this doll there, and what? I'll plug the location. It is the Madison Seminary, which is in Madison, Ohio, just east of Cleveland. Um, it's in my top 5 most haunted locations I've ever been to. If you get a chance, go to Ohio State Reformatory, but go to Madison Seminary too. They have a doll called Maddie. And that's what they call it. And the doll has been there forever, as far as I know. And we started investigating the seminary in the 2008, 2009. And we had some experiences with that doll that it kind of freaked us out. There was this one room in the building. The Madison Seminary, there's 2 buildings, and it's connected by a little annex building. Excuse me. And the older building in the basement, there was a small room there, a couple windows at the time, and there was no electric in there. And but we used to call it the doll room because there were like little toys, and there was this doll. She's probably about at least 3, almost 4 feet tall.
Wow.
Stands up. And there were 4 of us. We go into the room. She's in the corner, and she's got a little play school pull toy dog with her. It looks like a little Dalmatian.
Yeah.
And I move them apart. I move them away from each other to see if we can get a reaction. So we put the dog in the middle of the room, and we just moved Maddie a little ways away. And we had a couple cameras going on in there. We had audio recorders, and we did have EMF meters. The EMF meters were going crazy, but there's no electric in there. And we've investigated this room numerous times before, but no EMF hits at all. And it's going crazy. We're trying to figure out where this EMF is coming from. And while we're doing that stupid little dog in the middle of the room starts whimpering. It just goes, and just like that. We were like, did you guys hear that? It kind of like freaked us out. And, we're like, it had to come from the dog. And so we're throwing it and picking it up, trying to get it to do it again. We're getting nothing. And we're like, wow, that was really crazy. It's, what's going on here? And as we're talking, the dog starts singing, what is it? Is it bingo? Yeah, it just starts barking bingo. I mean, really eerily too.
Yeah.
And we're just all, dumbfounded, staring at this dog. But the crazy thing is too, right after that happened, I went to the owner and I'm like, hey, Tom, do you know anything about this dog? Have you ever heard it bark or do anything? He's like, nope. And this dog's been here, forever. And he's never heard it or has anybody told him that it's done that. So something made that dog do it that night. I mean, it's whatever was causing the high EMF, I think was affecting the electronics or the mechanisms in the dog. It was freaky at the time because, it's dark in there and you really can't see anything. But it was, that was one of our crazy experiences. We also had another crazy experience sitting in that room too. This was like a couple months later. It was my wife and I, and we got a stationary video camera, and there's like paint chips on the floor, so if anything's walking around, you can hear it. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you can hear the crunch crunch, crunch of footsteps walking. And you could actually hear them coming toward us. We actually captured that on video too. And my wife lifts her legs off the floor, and it's coming toward us. I can feel it coming toward us. And I had in fact, I'm getting a tingly sensation right now, because as I'm sitting there, it felt like something was standing right next to me, because the footsteps, like, that's where they stopped. And and on the video, you can see me turn the flashlight and go like this, like look up, because I swore that when I turned that flashlight on, there was going to be something standing right next to me. And that was pretty hair raising at the time. But it's a cool place. We've had other experiences there, and apparitions have been seen there, and we've gotten screaming on audio. Did talking about this? I'm like, I don't have a lot of stories. Oh yeah, I do. I've got tons of experiences, and doing this over 30 years, you're gonna have a lot.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've got a collection of all kinds of captures, from audio to video to.
Yeah, I've got a fair amount. And like I said, a lot of those experiences too and we didn't have any video or audio going. But I guess that's what I like. I like the personal experiences.
Yeah. What seems to be the best source of evidence that you get? Is it the audio EVPs, or is it the capturing of information through video?
For me, and this is only because I think it's the most common, are the EVPs. I mean, it seems people capture those more than any other type of evidence. Apparitions are extremely rare. Like I said, in my over 30 years, I've seen 4. And I mean, we've been all over. I mean, we've been in Canada investigating. We've investigated haunted castles in Scotland. We've investigated the Edinburgh vaults, the Black Mausoleum over in Greyfriars Kirkyard, tons of places. But most of the time, nothing happens. But then it's those times that it does, it's like, wow, it makes it all worthwhile. But it's got to be EVPs. I mean, video is great too, because if something does happen, you can capture it, but it doesn't always work. Here's a story as a perfect story. This event happened back in February at the Ohio State Reformatory. It was our first private hunt of the year. And we have the group. We are up in the area, what we call third floor East Admin. Third floor at the Ohio State Reformatory, the whole third floor is extremely active. I mean, it's one of the more active areas in the prison. And I mean, scary active. This is one of the areas that if I'm there by myself and I'm closing up at 3 a.m., because we got to go wander the building and close stuff up. This one area, if I'm by myself, if I don't feel right about it, I'll just avoid that area because it is so intense. Even in the daytime, it's creepy. But anyways, I'm there with the group. My wife's there with me, and she gets a call from her son, my stepson, and our grandson. He was a boxer at the time. The grandson, he was 12 years old. And so they called because he had a match that night. So she takes the phone call and she leaves the room. And now she's standing in this one area. And she's on the phone and she's looking out the window. And as she's talking with them, she feels a presence behind her. And she turns and looks, and then, sure enough, there's an apparition standing right behind her. She said a few F-bombs. Grandson starts laughing. Grandma's swearing, and and I gotta go. And she hangs up. And she's watching this, and it slowly turns, and then starts walking away, and then it gets on to all fours and starts crawling, but then turns into a ball. and starts rolling down the hallway. And so she goes over there and she's following it with the flashlight until it disappears. And then she comes running into the room and she's like, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what just happened." And I'm like, "We got security cameras up there. So we should be able to capture it." So we go to the security cameras, and that one that would have captured everything. It would have captured her. It would have captured it going down on all fours. Guess what? Did not record. Was broke.
Wow.
You know, but after that, it was fine. Now here's the thing too. There's down the hall. There's a camera there, security camera, and that did catch her shining the flashlight down the hall. So at the exact same time, she said that she was following it down the hall. You could see her flashlight. And then where we were at, where she comes running back into, there's a camera in there. That captures her coming back in there and saying, "Oh my God, oh my God."
Yeah.
But the one that should have captured the event, no. So, and that's a problem too that we get, at the Ohio State Reformatory and other places, is like battery drainage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do like the video cameras just in case, or the GoPros. It's always nice to have one on you the whole time, just in case something does happen. But yeah, the audio. If I have my choice, I would always take the audio and the video.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how, when events like this take place, that the spirits have the ability to kind of, or something happens to like space time where video just doesn't capture anything. It's just this
Right.
blip of time where it's like it never existed.
Right. Yeah. It's very hard to capture stuff like that on video. Now we do think we captured one apparition. We were actually, this is when we were with the other group. We headed down to Beckley, West Virginia, to investigate an old theater down there. And we set up a stationary camera in the basement because at the top of these stairs, people, workers, employees, they claimed that there was, they would see an apparition there. So we set up a camera and we captured something up there. I mean, the camera runs for 8 hours. There's nothing. You can see people coming in, going down the stairs. You can see flashlights. You can see camera flashes. But there's one time, it's only like about 3 seconds, where it looks like a figure walking from left to right. You can even see like the legs. It's almost like a reddish color. Yeah. It's just there briefly, but it looks like it walks and then disappears into a wall. So, but it's like, it is a little bit pixelated. And I have showed that to people, in the past, and they're like, "Oh, it's just pixelation, or it's just camera flashes, or, flashlights." Well, it's not any of those, because you can tell the difference between all of that. And if it was pixelation, why is it only these 3 seconds out of 8 hours? So it's one of those things. It's cool. Is it paranormal? I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be. No. Yeah. I mean, there's no way I can prove it. But it does corroborate what they were experiencing.
Yeah. Video is good to kind of, especially if you have a multi-camera. If you have 2 or 3 or 4, or some people have many different cameras looking at the same location at different, same point at different locations. And, if one doesn't capture something, you would hope that a multitude would capture something at that particular time. And getting as much corroborating evidence as possible on cases is very, very critical to try to find out what is it, where is it, and try to deduct the reasoning. So,
exactly.
So, do you have any upcoming cases that are coming up?
Trying to think if the Cleveland team does. I don't think we do at this time. We do get a lot of requests for investigations. We usually average about 3 to 4 a week
Mm.
for requests. But that's all 3 teams. That's Cincinnati, Columbus, and the Cleveland team. But it's really funny because, and I've talked with other teams too. People will contact you. Um, you know, you call them and they don't pick up, so you leave a voicemail and you never hear anything back from them. You send them an email, and I would say out of all of our cases, we probably follow through about between 15 and 20% of
Yeah.
those that we do get where we actually do investigations. But
I have gotten that a lot. Of the 5 years that I got really deep into it, I would get these long, long emails. They're telling a story, letting them vent, and to me, some of these stories, some of these emails were like, "Whoa,
mhm,
this definitely deserves an investigation."
right,
But then when you try to reach out to them, try to start setting something up,
yeah,
done. Nothing.
yeah. Yeah, so you experience the same. I mean, we got our teams, and since Cincinnati is our newest team, that they've only been with us for like 2 or 3 years, and they're like, "Does this happen all the time?" We're like, "Yeah." I mean, it does. I mean, one time we actually had a date scheduled, and we go to the house, and they were like, "Yeah, can we help you?" Yeah, we. I'm sorry. Well, we don't need you now. Well,
That happened to me too.
yeah.
It
So
was
it's
like
like,
we were down to less than a half hour because I was
mm,
still waiting for my other 2 investigators to come in from out of town, not that far, but at least an hour and a half away.
mhm,
And, 1 was a medium and another one was a retired law enforcement. And both investigators, obviously, but, we were gonna come in and help this family, and right here in my neighborhood, so to speak, and right down to the last 30-minute window, and literally last minute, I'm calling, nothing, nobody picked up. I actually show up to the house and just waiting for, my other investigators to show up, and, uh, nobody answers the door. I'm like, "What?" And then I get a text message of, I guess, the mother of the daughter who originally set it up.
mhm.
"Oh, she can't make it, na, 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 na," and that was it. I
Right.
I never heard anything from them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's sad that it does happen because you know what? We're providing this free service.
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying for our own gas, we pay for our own equipment. I mean, it's our time too. And, something like that is like, I just pretty much wasted my day.
Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, we're
Now
here to help.
yeah, yeah. Now do you feel too when I had my group together, um, I would have it was not really a contract, but it's, a client forms, confidentiality forms and stuff, and a credibility form that I fill out, as a
Hmm.
case manager to see how credible they are. Um,
Hmm.
and sometimes it doesn't even get that far. So,
Right.
um, but it seems like when you get to a certain point that some of these clients that try to reach out that are in distress and they realize that you mean business, that the investigators that they reached out to really do mean business,
Hmm.
and that they lack of a better word, they chicken out.
Yeah. 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 You know, eh,
Or they're afraid that we're going to find evidence of either child abuse, elderly abuse, animal abuse, drug abuse.
yeah. Yeah. And just like you, I mean, we take it very seriously. In fact, to be a member of our team, we require you to go through a criminal background check.
Mhm.
So each member that comes on, they have to pay for a criminal background check because in the hopes that it's going to make the client feel at ease. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't want somebody coming in who's a thief or anything like that. So we do that, and we do the forms too. We call it permission to investigate, where we had an attorney draw it up, and
yeah,
just cover us and to cover them, and But yeah, I mean, we all take it very seriously because there's a lot of people out there that are afraid.
Yeah.
They're living in their homes, even though it may not be paranormal. Uh, they're still afraid, and I think a lot of that is movies and TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ooh, I heard this noise. There's demons in my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've never come across a demonic case. In fact, we actually had to put it on our website that if you believe that there's a demon there or it's a true demonic case, we are not equipped to handle it. So you would have to contact your clergy or find somebody else who's more qualified. And there's two reasons we aren't qualified to do that. And another reason is that it's not. There's no demonic cases. And we've had people say, well, I guarantee you when you come out here, stuff's going to happen. Right. And we go out there and it's like, this is the calmest place I've ever been to. Nothing happened. And
Yeah.
so, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I got one other case too I forgot about. If
Go
you
ahead.
got time for that
Oh,
one.
yeah, absolutely.
There was this one home in it was in Medina, Ohio. It was for sale for a really long time. The owner who lives in California had a hard time selling it. He could not keep any realtors. Realtors were afraid to go into this house. So he contacted us, and it was an old abandoned house. I mean, it was nice. It wasn't run down or anything. But I remember the first time we went in there, um, it was one of those overwhelming feelings that that something is going on here.
Yeah.
And we haven't had psychics on the team and sensitives. And there's this one room down on the first floor where one of our psychics and one of our sensitives go in, and all they said was, and they go in at separate times, different days. We want to see what they feel. And both of them are like, what the hell happened in here? The energy was so tremendous. And there was just something really dark about this house. And we investigated it probably 10 times altogether. The house eventually got sold, but it's still vacant. It got sold like 3 or 4 years ago, but still vacant. But there was one time there were three of us, we were up on the second floor investigating. And we're just up there and we're talking amongst ourselves. It's really quiet and eerily in the house. All of a sudden, we just hear this woman just start screaming her head off from the first floor.
Wow.
I mean, all of us just like looked at each other. We were like, what the? I mean, it was the craziest scream I have ever heard. And we were just like, what was that? I think there was a lot of violence in that house years ago, but all the experiences that we had and that we captured, we contacted the owner, and that's what he had going on too. But luckily, he was able to finally sell it, and I'd love to get back in there. That was one of our most craziest, intense places. Just the feelings. I mean, there wasn't even any furniture in there. Just the really strong feelings. EMF was fine. There was no high EMF in the house. But a couple of those rooms, the psychics and sensitives would go in, and they would just be like, "What the hell? What's going on in here?" The energy was so thick.
Have you thought about doing St. Augustine, Florida?
Oh, yeah. My wife has. She's done the lighthouse.
Mm,
We've been to the lighthouse just to visit.
yeah.
Um, that was every year we do. Our team does a fun trip. Last year we all went to Savannah. We have a friend who owns a business down there, so we investigated her business, and then we went up and investigated the USS North Carolina, the battleship up there. That was one of our fun weekends. Most of the time we usually go to Gettysburg,
Yeah.
Next month, we're heading down to Bardstown, Kentucky for our Spirit and Spirits weekend. We're staying at a haunted bed and breakfast. We rented out the whole place.
Nice.
And the lighthouse is one of those locations that we've talked about going. If it wasn't, 16, 18 hours away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty far for us, but it's a cool place. I'm really happy that I was able to go there and check it out and walk all the way up to the top.
You know what would be a very interesting place? It's definitely not going to be cheap, and it's going to be it's going to be a vacation, not just and it's definitely not a road trip. Is Auschwitz?
It's funny that you mentioned that. Sometimes people always ask you, what places would you want to investigate in the world? I always say Auschwitz. There's got to be so much energy there. But, it's really, you never see any paranormal shows or anybody going to any place that's even remotely like that. All the concentration camps that were over there. I've never heard or seen anybody, do that.
Yeah, me neither. Maybe it's not allowed. They're like, no.
Yeah, it's, who knows? But it's got to be a lot of energy there, just the emotion and all the suffering.
I heard from some people who've been there that you feel the sadness, you feel the dread, the sadness, it's like,
oh, you do that. A while back, my wife and we went over to London, England, and then, like I said, we headed up to Scotland. I even searched for Loch Ness. I searched for Nessie. But we went to the Tower of London. We didn't investigate. We were just there on a day tour. And we go into this one tower called the Salt Tower. And, she went off her way and I went off my way. All of a sudden, my equilibrium was so off. I felt so unbalanced and I had to get out of there. And I met her and she was already out of there. She goes, I had to get out of there. It was so bad. Well, that's where they used to hold prisoners. It was almost like a cell, this room that we were in. So, some of those prisoners were, had their heads chopped off. That was really crazy intense. Even though we weren't investigating, we both felt the same thing, and we just had to get out of there.
Yeah. So a lot of these, definitely some of these historic places all over the world that have some really horrible history. You definitely pick something up, like Tower of London. And all the castles and but
that's what my wife and I used to do. We used to take our vacations and just go to haunted locations and investigate. Right now, we pretty much don't have the time anymore to do that. But it was always fun.
Yeah.
So especially like going to Scotland and.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there was one. We actually were the only ones staying in this haunted castle. It was really, we had the run of the place. It was really, really cool. Didn't have anything really happen, but we did stay at another haunted castle, and we got some cool stuff on. We got a couple photos that we can't explain, and got some. It's really cool because the hotel the hotel castle we stayed at, there's several ghosts there, and one of the ghosts is of a dog that fell from one of the towers. And we were down in what's called the Dungeon Restaurant. They turned the dungeons into a restaurant, and we're there, and we actually captured on audio. Sounds like dog walking across the floor. You can hear the nails like walking across the floor.
Wow.
So that, like I said, EVPs, you get a lot of those.
Yeah.
We got another one where one of the employees was leaving for the night. Now, this one was kind of funny because I don't think they like the American tourists. But we're sitting there in the dark and he's walking by and we like scared the crap out of him. So he like, yeah, and we're like, sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
Yeah.
And then right as he's leaving, there's an EVP that says, "Don't go." It's like, don't leave me here with these tourists. So it was telling him not to go.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Man. Well, we are pretty close to. I mean, we could go for hours with this show.
I could. Oh yeah.
Hours.
Yeah. You know what? I got lots more that I even told you. So
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we could absolutely do another episode of this and kind of hone in on a couple of the investigations and stuff like that. I do have a quick question, a good ending question. And when we're done with this broadcast, stand by for a little bit because I do have a couple questions, technical questions and stuff like that. Question is, past history of the amount of years that you've been doing this, have you seen the uptick during Halloween? During the month of October, you get more calls than any time of the year.
not really. In fact, I can tell you what month we mostly get our requests in. We actually get most of our requests in. Here's one where September, 2 times in September, April, March. Those are when we get most of our requests.
Yeah.
So it's not really in October. It's more. It seems like it's more in the spring months now.
Really?
During COVID, right after,
yep.
we got a lot of requests. We got it because people were staying home and now they're experiencing stuff that they haven't experienced before.
Yeah.
We had so many requests that year that, I mean, it was crazy. So it was, it was 2020. Yeah. Yeah, we had almost 200 requests in the year.
Wow. Yeah, because I would get an uptick, beginning, leading into October, end of, mid September, end of September, and then, into October, was when I was getting a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we did get a lot in September, so then that's leading up to October.
Yeah.
But March and April too, it's we get a lot of requests.
Yeah. Huh. Well, we can let's arrange another show.
I love it.
Maybe post October, and maybe again if you guys aren't busy next year. I definitely doing this every year. I was gonna do this last year, but something happened. I got too busy. I had a lot of. This is when the show was kind of growing, and so much was involved with it and putting it together. My normal programming called the Seance. But now that I've got the template for this show, it's ready. I know what to do. It's already out there, and we can repeat it next year. But we can do it. This is an all year round show, not the True Ghost Stories, but the Seance's regular programming.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. And maybe we can figure out how to do the audio and the video too.
Yes. Absolutely. And stand by. I got to talk about that after we're done. So
okay.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thanks for
Greg,
having me.
You are very welcome. Thank you very much. Namaste. Blessings, my friend. Stay safe out there because you've already faced it, being pushed, shoved, and stuff like that. So it can cause an injury if you're not ready.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So awesome.
Well, thank you.
You are very, very welcome. And thank you, everybody, for watching True Ghost Stories on Conscious Radio Network. And we will see you next week.